Welcome everybody today to this event, and I'm so excited to have my guest with me today, Anna. It would be great if you give an introduction and background to yourself to our audience.
Well, terrific. And Ansley, just thank you to you and the HITLAB team for having me on. I'm excited about the day and happy to join you. I am an entrepreneur in residence with the National Institute of Health, Seed office. I am also an investor and an advisor to the ASTIA Fund, as well as to the Ignite Health Accelerator, and an LP in a few funds, including, importantly, the Portfolio Femtech funds.
Amazing. And as we are on the topic of women's health, of course, I wanted to ask you, what have you seen that are some key advancements in women's health in 2023 that have significantly impacted the field?
Well, 2023 turned out to be a really important year. You know, like many people, I ended the year realizing that one phenomenal development, an unfortunate development, the Dobbs decision, had set women's health back, taken away the right to choose severely limited it for women in many states. And that's bad for all of women's health because it made the very profession of being an OBGYN perilous, litigious. So women in those states will have that triple effect. But then when I looked at it more slowly, I realized it was a yin year and a yang year, and that there were some amazing things that happened. So just to set the stage and name a few of them, I'll start with the fact that science caught up. So we actually had the discovery of the hormone, GD15, that actually causes extreme morning sickness in some women. We had discoveries of new biomarkers for endometriosis that will allow diagnostics like the one that Hera Biotech is developing to actually come to market eventually. We began to understand how hormones trigger migraines. I'm just naming a few of them. Also on the investment front, in a year that everybody thought was the very worst for early stage capital in sort of their memory, which is saying a lot, women's health actually fared pretty well. Certainly the advances of the last 5 years were not wiped out. And we saw some of what I call big boy raises actually happened, including Maven's $90 million raise and a seed raise from AOA DX of 17 million, which stands out because in women's health, you don't usually see seeds of that size. Mm-hmm. It was also a light bulb moment for maternal health. So people looked around and saw that our current maternal health system is broken for many people, and that the traditional modalities of delivering that care just weren't working. And so we saw some phenomenal things. About half of the states now have some arrangement within their Medicaid programs to pay for doulas. We saw the nation's largest employer, that's Walmart, start to give its employees $1,000 per birth for doula care. And we saw the CMS, the federal government, which has so much impact on Medicare and Medicaid, start a 15-state trial program called Transforming Mental Health, which included doulas. This is really, really a big step forward. And wow. Importantly, and maybe I'll end here because it's one of the most important things, the whole tone of the conversation changed. So after years of dismissing, not hearing, disregarding women's discussion of their symptoms regarding menopause and endometriosis and autoimmune diseases, it really turned so that wasn't acceptable, and those discussions started. And big thought leaders like Silicon Valley Bank and McKinsey issued important reports talking about not only how women's health investment was a good investment, but also its impact on the entire economy. And just a shout out, because none of that happened without the work of tireless advocates who had worked for years and years and years. And in that regard, I'll just really call out WHAM, Women's Health Access Matters, Dr. Brittany Barreto, and the pioneering investment work of Portfolio, RH Capital, and others. So that sets us up for 2024.
Yeah, and that's amazing. I didn't even know those statistics in terms of how much more funding and awareness that went into doulas for women's health. So we're actually hearing from a doula later today. So it's cool to have kind of a full circle moment with that. And you're right, you did set us up to kind of talk about 2024. And I wanted to kind of pick your brain and can you highlight any specific breakthroughs in contraception specifically that emerged in 2024 and their overall implications for women's health?
Well, let's just remember we're only ending April, and big thing has already happened. So we're understanding that 42% of pregnancies are not wanted. If you're going to take away a woman's right to choose, it's a really good time to give her the more tools to keep her from getting pregnant in the first place. And on that front, Perrigo issued Opill in March. This is the first time a woman can get birth control without a prescription. So
Mm.
a woman who can't get to a doctor, doesn't have time to get to a doctor, has a long wait for a doctor, doesn't have a doctor available, can go online or to her pharmacy and get an effective contraception. Hey, welcome the United States to what the rest of the world's been doing. There are limitations. That is a pill that will have to be taken the same time every day. It costs $20 and it's not clear whether or not it'll be reimbursed. But nonetheless, when Perrigo announces its earnings on May 7th, I am so excited to hear what the first months of women having this option is going to look like.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. And we'll definitely have to do a follow-up in terms of revisiting this and seeing how this has greatly impacted, women's health and just the ability for people to have women to have more access to these contraceptions. So that's great. And then also kind of on the same topic, I know, like you said, we're still early in 2024, but in what ways has menopause treatment evolved so far compared to the previous years? And how might these advancements improve the quality of life for women?
The biggest development that has happened is a growing consensus that hormone replacement therapy, HRT, can and should be used more often. So HRT was put into a kind of a limbo, if not an outright hell, about 22 years ago when the NIH stopped a huge 600,000 person clinical trial because they felt that they saw links between HRT and cancers and they didn't see a positive impact on cardiac health. When that happened, prescriptions for HRT plunged to 82%. But more devastatingly, HRT and all menopause therapies were taken out of medical curriculums. So gynecologists stopped being told that this was an accepted, a recommended practice. New gynecologists were not even trained in it. A whole generation of women did not have this option. What's going to happen in June, and this study is available now, is the Green Journal, the Bible of ACOG, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, is issuing an entire research review on hormone replacement therapy. The key author is Dr. Barbara Levy, who at one point in time was head of research for ACOG. So we're talking about respected. And it's going to say, looking at that, picking apart what happened with that study and then looking at all the studies that have happened since then, it's going to say that HRT with personalized treatments, which say which hormone, which delivery method on this person with their history should be used. This is really big. Now, the implication of that is that women need access to doctors who are specialists in HRT, and these models allow them to have the time and the care to actually give these personalized prescriptions. So you can imagine how ecstatic I was yesterday when the news of the $60 million Series B round for MIDI Health came out. MIDI Health exactly is that change agent who could create the mechanisms for HRT to be prescribed to any woman who's entering menopause. We'll talk in a moment about how important timing is.
Yeah. And, kind of on that topic of how everything is kind of interrelated with women's health and women's health concerns, have you noticed any of notable developments in the fight against Alzheimer's and osteoporosis so far this year that also particularly target women's health concerns?
Yes. Among the diseases that target mostly women, Alzheimer's and osteoporosis are the most devastating. They leave most women of an advanced age unable to care independently for themselves for the last 5 years of their lives. But things are happening. I just 2 weeks ago sat in on an open to the public meeting of the NIH's Office of Women's Research, where 3 notable respected scientists all presented new works on Alzheimer's, osteoporosis, and heart disease, focusing on what causes these things to happen in women's midlife, i.e. at menopause. Each of them came to exactly the same conclusion. Hormone replacement therapy given at the onset of menopause can delay onset and reduce the experience.
Wow.
It has huge implications for our daughters, like just huge. This means that therapies will get developed and delivery models like those of MIDI and OBGYN education, as all of these things catch up, it's very possible that our daughters won't have to worry about breaking hips, going into memory units, all of the things that happen to aging women today.
Wow. That is personally really, really great news to hear. As you know, my family has a really long history of Alzheimer's. And so that's definitely a concern. And if there's a way that we can, with these hormone replacements, being able to kind of prolong or stop the symptoms altogether, this would be a huge change for women's health. Absolutely. So thank you so much for letting us know about that. Because again, this is great news. And I'm so excited to see what we continue to do in the upcoming years. And as we are kind of close to time, I wanted to ask you just one last question. What are some challenges to women's health rights and access to care that are going to be anticipated in 2024, including potential threats to Plan B, the right to choose, and how might these challenges impact women's health outcomes as well?
Well, the threats are huge and they're real. We all just saw Supreme Court hearings yesterday. I mean, I never thought that in my lifetime my health would be impacted by the court systems and the Supreme Court itself, making medical decisions for women. So we know the Supreme Court is considering whether to uphold a challenge to mifepristone, a key ingredient in the Plan B morning after contraception. Thankfully, observers of that trial think that they heard a sentiment to not ban it, but it will be a technicality. It'll be a for now decision. Just yesterday, the Supreme Court considered a case arguing that a state with an abortion ban could keep doctors from performing emergency abortions as required by federal law today when needed. And preliminary reports indicated that the Supreme Court might actually do that. At the state level, we're seeing new laws totally obliterating a woman's right to choose, such as that in Arizona. And of course, in November, with the change in presidential administrations, all of the great things that we've seen that have happened through the federal agencies can be just changed on a dime. All of the support that we've seen for women's health research, the changes that are being made at the CMS to support doula care, the work that the NIH has done to expand the funding of research, those are all in danger. And of course, there's only one thing we can do about that, which is political action. And I think particularly effective with what we're seeing is political action at the state level, because it's the state that is the front line of protecting women's rights. And what we do at the state level percolates up to other levels. So organizations like the Sister District find and are specifically about defending people's rights in states where that change can be enacted. So there's a lot of work to be done, but there's a lot to be excited about. And I just can't believe that every day I'm seeing other new things happen that, that seemed impossible just even a couple of years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And, at least at the very end of every day, we can always be an advocate for women's health. Even if we're not directly in women's health or investing in women's health or at the state or government level, as long as we're an advocate for each other and can use our voice and our platforms to support women's health, I think we will really move forward in a positive direction for the rest of the year. So thank you so much, Anna, for joining us today and giving all of your wonderful insights. It was a pleasure to have you today.
Thank you.